Hi friends, Chandrasekhar here again. This time we are going to talk about the seventh bhava of the chart, and of course this is sidereal chart, as you know, because we are talking about Vedic astrology, which has a fixed point in the zodiac against which everything is mapped. So what we are going to look at is the seventh bhava. As you know, we have already seen what bhavas mean, that they mean perception of the jataka as well as others' perception about him in a particular area of his life. So, seventh bhava, which of course for the young is of great interest, for the old it is something they feel a bit awkward to talk about, but there is nothing awkward about it. Seventh bhava primarily is a bhava which complements or opposes the first bhava, which is the jataka himself, because you can understand it is 180 degrees exactly, that is exactly opposite the first bhava. And for any joint or anything to survive, any two things to gel together, it is good if they can fit into each other exactly. They need not be identical, because identical things make for a not very stable joint, as any engineer amongst you will understand. So what is the seventh bhava? Now seventh bhava has different nomenclatures, but primarily it is either called the seventh bhava, the saptama bhava, or the dara bhava, the bhava of spouse, or jaya bhava, which again is spouse. And we have to understand that it represents somebody with whom we come across, with whom we interact uh, in different manners over different period of time. Naturally, the most important person in our life with whom we interact and have a variable relation with is the spouse. And when we see Dara or Jaya or even Bharya, it means wife. But as we have seen earlier, in Sanskrit, the words are to be, especially in ancient sciences, they are to be understood as gender neutral. So when we say Dara, if it means wife, it also means the husband. Now, having understood that, the what is exactly the seventh bhava, as we have seen somebody whom we come across, with whom we interact, and we may gel well with him or her, or we may not, is one thing. Second thing that the seventh bhava represents naturally is the partners. So somebody who is at equal level to you and working with you for different reasons is also is to be considered from the seventh bhava. Same goes for those who are in job, or as we call in India, service. Anybody who is of equal level to him is again to be seen with from the seventh bhava. Now this bhava also represents short travels, to my way of thinking, because it is fourth from the fourth. Fourth house is where you stay, your own house, and this is fourth from fourth, so it has some thing to do with travels also. So malefics, if malefics are aspecting it, you will have short travels, whereas if benefics are aspecting it, you may not want to travel much, or when you travel you will have pleasant experiences, whatever way. I mean, you have to interpret again from the point of view of natural malefics or benefics aspecting or influencing that bhava by presence or aspect or trining it, and so on and so forth, as we will see sometime when we come to the interpretation part of the chart, which I may come at a later stage, because as I always said, I want the basics to be understood properly in their proper perspective. Seventh bhava is also your competitor. Many a times people think that competitor, especially in elections or anything else, is to be seen by sixth bhava, because that represents enemy. Now there is a difference between enemy and adversary or competitor. I would rather say, instead of adversary, competitor, because both are fighting for the same thing, and that is only for the period of the competition. Once the competition is over, you are again, best of friends or whatever. So it is not necessarily enmity that is there when you compete with somebody. Even the wife or husband competes for the attention of each other, and so they are also in a way competing for their space in your life. and you compete for space in their life. So this competition goes on. You see, one-upmanship goes on between the two, but that doesn't mean they are enemies. Uh, so what we finally, if we come to the crux of the thing, what is it that is represented by the seventh bhava? One is bond, because it represents marriage as such. Need not necessarily be marriage, I will explain why. And it also indicates change, continuous change. So it is a bhava of change. That is why seventh bhava is also looked at and analyzed to understand whether a person can do business or not, whether he can have a partner, will he gel well with the partner. And now you can understand in this part of the explanation, English language is better because life partner is very easy to understand. And so this bhava also indicates bond. So whether the marriage will last or not can also be seen from the seventh bhava. And as you will go on seeing when you, I mean most of you must be astrologers since you are taking interest in this lecture of mine. And you can see we call Kuja dosha, the affliction caused by Mars. Most of it is when it is aspecting the seventh house, isn't it? From the fourth house, from the Lagna, even from the 12th house, he will aspect the Mars will be aspecting the seventh house, the house of bondage. Now whether that bond will remain or it will break would to some extent depend on the aspect of malefics or even their presence there. Will it always mean breakage of bond? No. If the planet which we think is causing some harm in the seventh house has his own peculiarities, like Saturn is the old one, the mature one, Mars is the active one, and so on and so forth. So we can always turn it around if we apply our mind to it. Of course there are remedies that are suggested by astrologers, but I would think that part of it is also in our hands. Our free will also has a say in what happens in our life. Like if I talk rudely with you now, we will have bad relations. We may not know each other, but the moment you see my name, you will always remember that this fellow is a rude person, isn't it? It doesn't take the next birth for me to realize the result of what I have done. Or if I can convey things better to you, you will think that, okay, Chandrasekhar Sharma, yeah, this is a person who can explain to me the concepts in a very simple language perhaps, or has more focus on the concepts rather than on the example charts. So this will happen in this life. This action of mine doesn't have to, doesn't need me to wait for my next birth to realize the effects of it, isn't it? So let us understand this part of it. And then seventh bhava, as I said, is a bhava of transience, a bhava of change. And like in business, you sometimes earn, you sometimes lose. There is no fixed income. There is always a possibility of getting hit, and also possibility of earning much more than what is the normal flow of that business. Similarly, in case of wife, you will ask me what is the, or husband, you will ask what is the difference. See, when you marry for X purpose. Initially, if Hindu, more because the family wants him to have a progeny or her to have a progeny, and then over time you get used to that person, you start depending on him, you change your habits to suit that person if the marriage is going to last. That person also changes his life, style of or his habits to suit yours without knowing that he is doing it. So as I always tell my students, some people have a habit of brushing their teeth and they're only having the tea, and some want made tea without brushing the teeth. And then over time you will find that the first person has started taking the bed tea, whereas the second person who never used to brush his teeth before taking tea or eating something would suddenly start doing that. So we take each other's habits. Wife or spouse again is in times of difficulty a good advisor. That person can feed you like a mother does, can sort of pardon you for your great mistakes, like the earth does. We dig the earth, we water it, we destroy it, and still it will again give us some food to eat, from the seed that we maybe accidentally drop. So This is explained in a beautiful Sanskrit verse, but this is not the time for it. Neither do I need to do that. You will understand that our over time our role in each other's life changes. With partners also the same thing happens. Sometimes the junior partners become the senior partners withdraw into junior partnership or he retires. So all in travels you are at one place, then you go to another place, and all these short duration changes take place. If they are taking place in the right manner, in the way the chart is indicating that they could happen, and you use it properly, then you get pleasure from it. Otherwise you will be hurt because of it. So this is in essence how seventh bhava. Seventh bhava is spouse. I would say it is more of bondage with someone whom you come across, who are almost at an equal status at you. The sex may be different, the habits may be different, the culture could be different, and that would also be to some extent indicated by the planets which influence the seventh bhava. Seventh bhava is also again maraka bhava. With all this, the spouse supports you, the partner supports you, and so on and so forth. But it is also a maraka bhava, but it's dasha, and not otherwise. That doesn't mean the seventh house, those who represent seventh house are killers. No, not at all. These are two different things. Dasha interpretation has to be different from the natal chart interpretation, and transits are again having a different role to play in how to interpret it. So having said this, I trust that I have been able to convey what I wanted to convey about the seventh bhava. It is a bhava of change, it is a bhava of partners, it is a bhava of people whom we interact with because of different reasons in our life. It is competitor, in horror it is the thief, because all these, if you will see, these relations are for some time, then they change or they break or they continue. But if they continue, the nature of relationship changes. If they break, of course the break is there, so the relationship is gone. In travels also, you travel to X place, then you travel to Y place, so these short travels for short duration are again part of the seventh house itself, though normally it is, earlier it used to be thought from the third house and the ninth house, but my idea is in ancient time one had to go out, so the valor has to be implemented, because we were hunter-gatherers rather the males were hunter-gatherers once upon a time, so third house represented that. Ninth house is of course dharma, as you see, and once upon a time in India, the idea was that if you cross the sea, you incur sin. Of course, it is not so now, and it was not also so in ancient times, because most of our gods traveled to different countries, they crossed overseas. But certain times, people think that traveling was supposed to be a problem, a trouble. Nowadays, since you travel to distant land, you earn more money, so it is supposed to be good. So these things change, and you will always have to think in terms of the times at which you are analyzing a chart, the person, specific person, and his culture, whether in that culture it is supposed to be good or bad. So I personally feel that seventh house is a house of short travels. I don't consider third to be a house of short travel. Yeah, in Prashna you will have to consider it as short travel. The reason is different. Sometimes if God permits and I live that long, I may go into the details of depth of Prashna and the principles behind it, but I don't think I will be able to do it. Anyway, I am more into interpretation of natal charts. I try to use Parashari system, what is called as Parashari system. That is a traditional system of sages. 18 sages were there who gave it, and that is what I do. So my friends, I hope I have been able to impart a part of what I understand by what is seventh bhava to you. As usual, do remember to give me your comments. I don't mind whether they are bouquets or brickbats, because whatever you tell me always adds to my knowledge. So never be under the impression that I am doing some great service by imparting you knowledge. I also learn from your comments what needs to be explained more in depth for people to understand and use this divine science. Divinity, as I said, is in how you use it, but I would call it divine science because it can be used in a very divine manner. Hope that you like this lecture, and in times to come I will go to other subjects as you suggest. and do go on giving your comments to me. And anyway, before I forget, I must tell, this is not a channel where predictions are given. People sometimes ask for predictions. I feel bad to say no, but no, this is not the forum for it. If there is some great problem, you can write to my website www.jyotishteachings.com, and if I think that it is really serious matter, I may respond. So I hope you understand my limitations. Also, I do some business to earn my livelihood. This is not my livelihood, and so please do not misunderstand if I don't respond sometime. Usually I do respond. And so my friends, I sign off now and see you at the next lecture on the 8th bhava, which is also an interesting bhava. Before I forget, 7th bhava is called the Kama Sthana, Kama Bhavana, but that Kam doesn't mean, generally people, because of the Kama Sutra text which is in our mind, always think of sex with the self. Kama is my desire, whatever I desire, and it is supported by the 3rd and the 11th bhava, which are tries to it. And the 3rd bhava is valor, the 11th bhava is income of the career. They are interconnected, as we saw in case of 3rd bhava, and we will see in case of 11th bhava. And the ancient system was simple: you be valorous, you earn well, and then desire. As my father used to say, first deserve, then desire. So Kamana relates to desires, not necessarily only sex, which people assume it to be. So please learn to think about it properly, and I'm sure you will help people, and I want everybody to. And so see you in the next lecture. Bye.